All right, so now I'm going to show you how to install a piston on a rod that without using a press. All right, these are pressed in wrist pins, so I'm going to show you how to press them in or get them in without using a press. Big things to look at. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but right here there's an arrow. Okay, when you pull your old pistons out, you got to notice how they are on the rods. These are the rods that off my old pistons, so I'm not changing my rods out. So we're going to use these ones. So you have to look at how the pistons were on your old rods. Mine, they have this little oil valley right here. So I know that was at the back. So my pistons are going to look like this. They're just going to go on. So that way when I set it in, the arrow is to the left. At the same time, on here, there's also another arrow. That one's also going to point to the left. So your arrows should be pointing the same direction on both, okay? That way it'll just sit right in. So I'm gonna make sure that I get this set up right. So my arrow is now pointing straight down. So I need to make sure that on my rod, my arrow is pointing straight down. And I'm gonna go get my wrist pin. So I've had my wrist pin in the freezer for a while, for a few days. Generally 24 hours and your wrist pin's gonna be fine. Mine's in a deep freezer, so I'm gonna go grab that real quick because it's gonna take a lot longer for that to warm up than it will for my rod to cool down. So I'm gonna use heat. Okay, I'm gonna use heat, and I'm gonna use WD-40, and I'm gonna use the cold off the wrist pins. So let me go grab that real quick. All right, so now I have my frozen wrist pin. I'm going to WD-40 it. I'm gonna get a nice thick coat of WD-40 on it. I'm gonna move it around. All right, what I am gonna do, I forgot to bring over here is my rag. I'm gonna grab a new rag. All right, so now I have a nice layer of WD-40 on there. That is super cold. Fire up the torch, and we're going to heat up our rod. This doesn't take but a couple of minutes to do. So, and it's cool because I've already done this on one. The wrist pin's just going to slide right in. I might have to go over to the press to make sure it's centered, but you're gonna make sure you want to get right on it. Be generous with the heat. I have to go over the press to make sure that the wrist pin is centered on the rod. But other than that, it should work out just fine. I think last time I only did it for about 45 seconds, all the way around. You want to make sure you're moving it so it gets all the way around. You want to make sure it gets nice and warm so it expands, and then that wrist pin can slide right in. It's cold, so it's contracting. All right, let's see if we got enough heat. Oh yeah, that's nice and warm. Okay, move this out of the way. So we're nice and warm. I'm gonna set it in there and I'm gonna push it all the way to the bottom so that way I can just set this wrist pin in. All right. Now my wrist pin's in, but it's not quite centered, so I gotta take it over to the press and I've gotta make sure it's centered, and I wanna do that before it cools down. So I'm gonna go do that and then I'll show you the final product.